Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Beth. I am a 37-year-old attorney living in the DC area with my husband. And for today's video, I am going to be reviewing the new Too Faced concealer. This is the Born This Way Eternal Light Concealer. So I haven't seen anyone talk about this yet, but I was personally kind of intrigued by it. So this is an illuminating smoothing concealer is what it says on the packaging. So I have two different shades that I'll swatch and then decide from there. I think just to kind of mix it up a little bit, I'm going to go straight into the demo and application portion of the video, and then I will provide more information at the end. So if you want to skip ahead to any certain portion, I will have timestamps down below. And it is about a little after 1 o'clock right now, so I think I can maybe get like an 8-hour wear test in. So I'll apply it so that one side has powder and one side doesn't, and then we'll see at the end of the night how they fared. Okay, so as I said, I'm just going to get straight into the actual portion of the video where I try out the product. So I have two shades. I have the shade Milkshake and the shade Sugar. And I also pulled out some of the older concealers from Too Faced. So I do have this Born This Way Naturally Radiant concealer in the shade Very Fair. I think that Too Faced has discontinued this. I didn't see it on their website anymore, so I should probably toss this. But since I still had it kind of rolling around in my drawer, I decided to pull it out and I will swatch it. And then I also have two shades of the Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. So I have one in their full size, and then I have one in the mini size. So this is Cloud and this is Snow. I think Cloud might have been either a shade expansion or it was just on the Too Faced website, not at Sephora. But Too Faced said that the Milkshake shade is supposed to kind of equate to the Cloud shade in the Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. So I'll swatch those for you so you can get a good look at them. So this is what the packaging looks like. It has kind of a pearlescent pink plastic with like a Too Faced logo on the top here. It doesn't look quite as luxe for whatever reason as their black and gold packaging, although it does seem that it's basically the same, just different color packaging. And it does have a shiny gold band around the edge as opposed to that kind of matte frosted gold. Personally, I think I prefer the older style of the packaging, but it is what it is. I suppose they had to kind of make it look different enough. I'm very curious if this Born This Way Eternal Light is just kind of a repackaged version of this Natural Radiant, although you can see there is a definite shade difference there. So it does look like you get less product. You get 5 milliliters in this versus 7 in this. And this does have a 6-month shelf life as opposed to a 12-month shelf life for this. This is kind of an interesting size comparison. I'll kind of break down the prices and everything in a minute. But I think because this was marketed as more of a multi-use product, maybe you were getting a little bit more, but then they did have some of these mini sizes to kind of, I guess, let you have less. So this has a whopping 15 milliliters, and this also had a 12-month shelf life. And it looks like all of these were made in Italy, so there isn't any change in terms of the country of manufacture, at least. Okay, so like I said, I got the shades Sugar and Milkshake. This was probably unnecessary, but I just couldn't really decide. Sugar was described as fairest with rosy undertones, and this is the one that's supposed to look like marshmallow, which I don't have. And then Milkshake is supposed to be fairest with neutral undertones. And this one is the one that's supposed to be like Cloud. They were saying this was kind of like a novel doe foot. I don't know that it's anything super different. I mean, it's a little bit maybe different than maybe the doe foot you would most often see, but I don't know that it's necessarily super innovative. Okay, so this is the shade Sugar, and that's just like one swipe there. I do have a scar on my hand, so can't help that. And then this one is Milkshake. Again, the packaging just feels a little cheap. Maybe just a tad more so than the plastic on the other ones. It does have a clear wand, which is kind of fun. All right, so this one is Milkshake. I might go with the one that has a rosy undertone. I think I could get away with either one, but I think especially now during the summer, I'm just, I think, a little bit more rosy than I would be during the winter, so I'm gonna go with that one. Okay, so this is Cloud, and you can see this had a much larger doe foot. So that's a comparison of the doe foots there. You can see the multi-use has kind of a slant, kind of a slope, whereas the new one is a little bit flatter. Okay, so this is the shade Cloud. And it does look like that will be much more coverage. This is the shade Snow. I think maybe having a bigger doe foot as well might kind of pick up more product, but I just want to kind of give you as faithful a demonstration of the opacity as I can. All right, and then I'll swatch this Very Fair. Again, this one has maybe your typical doe foot where it has a bit of a slant. So that is the shade Very Fair. I can't promise that that hasn't oxidized at all in the tube because, like I said, this is a bit old. But that is what we have here. Very interesting shade range. I'm not sure that this is my ideal shade in this product, but these are the shades I have anyway. So yeah, so those two look kind of better for me just on swatching them. I mean, that with a fuller coverage concealer, you almost have to go in with like a fuller coverage base. So those are the shades. All right, so like I said, we will start the demo process. So I'm gonna go in with the Say Star Glow. I already have moisturizer and sunscreen on. I do use an under eye cream. So I wanted to kind of let you see what my face looked like just with skincare. And I also always use a corrector underneath my eyes because I do have fairly significant dark circles given my skin tone, and I just always use a corrector, so that's how I test concealers. This might be a step you could skip if yours are not super significant, but I use a corrector kind of regardless of what concealer I'm using. This is the Charlotte Tilbury one. I know some people can kind of get away with using this on its own. I could possibly do that. You can see the difference here between corrector and no corrector. I could possibly just use this by itself, but if I wanted to just kind of have some light correction underneath my eyes, that is when I would use the Color Science Total Eye, because that has a light peach color that helps kind of do some correcting, and that's my kind of like no makeup, hybrid skincare makeup type product. Okay, so we have the corrector on, and what I like to do next is apply my foundation, and then I apply concealer on top. So today I'm going to use my NARS Light Reflecting. Give this a good shake. Okay, so that is the foundation done. I just wanted to kind of even things out a little bit. I mean, obviously you can still see freckles and everything coming through, so it's not going to be a super heavy foundation, and based on what I read about this concealer, it looks like it will be a good option. All right, so I think I will use the shade Sugar. All right, so just kind of scanning the suggested application. It says that you can use on bare skin or over foundation. Obviously I'm using it over foundation. It says to place concealer in the inner corners, hollows of the eyes, and the outer corner. So it sounds like you can be quite generous with this. I think the instructions for this product just said to like put a dot and then blend. So this, I think you can go in a little bit harder. And it also says you can blend with clean fingertips, sponge, or a brush using a pressing technique. So I guess you're trying to kind of press to maintain the coverage instead of just swiping it all away. And yeah, it just says start from the inner corner, working outward and back in, repeat until concealer is blended. Okay, so where I just kind of do that a lot of times. I'll just go ahead and go on the other side. All right, so that's usually about what I do. And just while I'm using this, it almost feels like there's a bit of a, do you see that? I'm not sure if, yeah, I don't know if it's just doing that because it's new and it's pretty full. Okay, so I'm going to take my finger and just move it kind of underneath to kind of cover where I want to cover. And then I think on this side I will try using the sponge beauty blender, and I'm just pouncing it. So I think that looks pretty. It so far is looking nice and hydrated. Okay, and then the other one, I really enjoy this Angie 8506 brush that she worked on with BK Beauty. So I'm just, again, kind of patting it. I think both look good. I think maybe this side does look like it retained a little bit more coverage, which, you know, is not unheard of. I think I might have a little bit more texture underneath this eye, so that just always kind of complicates things. Trying to balance, like using retinol to kind of exfoliate the under eye, but also not like overdoing it. So I'm just gonna try and apply a little bit more. See if I can build up that coverage just a tad. So like I said, I am 37. I have dry skin. So I think, you know, especially for every day, I'm definitely at the stage where I would just as soon have a little bit less coverage and have it just look more seamless rather than trying to really pack it on. And I think the corrector helps with that as well, because I'm not trying to get so much coverage out of my concealer that I'm really slapping it on. You know, I can kind of build up in layers and rely on the corrector to help a lot. Okay, so before I powder, I'm going to do some contouring in my brows, that kind of thing. So I will speed through this portion and then I'll come back for powdering. Okay, so as I was doing that, I did remember that I had this small little kind of healing blemish. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of this on to kind of see how it does. And this is often how I blend in concealer over a blemish. I think that definitely helped, and it looks like it blends in pretty well. I feel like I should also mention that it's early August as I'm filming this, and I try to turn off the air conditioning whenever possible when I'm filming a video. So it's been off for about 20 minutes now, so in case I am looking kind of extra dewy or anything, that's why. Okay, so underneath my eyes, and I just want to kind of zoom in. I do that. So that's no powder or anything. I can see some light creasing coming down from my lower eyelid, but that's pretty typical and it's not bad. One thing I will typically do is to put a little bit of shadow underneath my lash line, and even if I don't powder the under eye, which I normally do, that helps a lot of those creases from filming. So I think I'm gonna use my little By Terry Hyaluronic Pressed Hydra Powder. It usually does pretty well underneath the eyes. So I am going to do this on my right eye. So I just have this little, very zoomed in here. So I just have this little Say brush, and see how this does. So I think that took down a little bit of the reflection. I mean, overall, I'm looking a little shiny. So I think for the rest of the face, I'm gonna take my LYS powder and kind of a fluffy brush here and just powder to kind of get rid of a little bit of that. I will often have some kind of shine coming through on my forehead by the end of the day. It's not usually enough to bother me. Yeah, so so far I would say you can probably get away without setting if you don't want to. So far I'm pretty happy. Okay, so I am going to finish up my makeup. You'll probably see me put a little bit of shadow underneath the lower lash line like I mentioned, and then I will come back to give you the full details and let you know my initial thoughts.
You think we're moving too soon? I love to hear you when you complain about your best friend, how she's so late. And as you're talking, I start thinking all the details start to sink in. I don't care about the right now. Spend the summer in this beach house. 'Cause I was right to play my part. Conspiracies on TV. I know the truth and it's so simple. Blame it all on stupid impulse. And I keep living out of my head. Just forgive me for my silence. 'Cause I was right to play my part.
So as I am applying this, I just wanted to mention that this is the Clinique Bottom Lash. It's a tubing mascara. So usually it does pretty well, minus kind of user error. But it does well kind of in terms of not transferring or moving around or anything. But of course we'll be able to tell at the end of the night whether I have any kind of massive transferring from the concealer. But I do, like I said, use a tubing mascara for my bottom lashes, and then I like to use a waterproof mascara for my upper lashes. And that's predominantly because I find that the waterproof formula helps to hold my curl better. So I have kind of straight lashes. So that's the main reason. I don't typically worry as much about transfer and smudging and that kind of thing, although when you use a waterproof formula, it kind of takes care of that. All right, I think I might just leave it there. Normally I would go in for a second coat, but I'm trying to just embrace a more kind of natural makeup look today. I think I might just throw on like a tinted lip oil instead of a clear one. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. I like this Malibu shade from Kosas, but I think with the eyes, it was just a tad pink. Okay, so that is the look, and I do have to say that I really like how my skin is looking, especially with the concealer. I wasn't as happy with how my eyeshadow turned out, but that's fine. Okay, so let's talk about what this product is all about. So this is the Born This Way Ethereal Light Smoothing Concealer. So it is $26 and you get 0.16 fluid ounce or 5 ml. And I just wanted to kind of check some comps in terms of the amount. So the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, for example, is 0.22 ounces. And how much does that retail for these days? So that's $31, so a little bit more expensive, but they also, I think, have the option to purchase minis, which of course will be less product, but less expensive as well. So that is where this one is. This, for example, the Born This Way was $34, so again, more expensive, but you got a full half of an ounce. So quite a lot more product in this one. The mini that I showed you, so this was 0.13 ounces and it was $16. So a little bit less than this product, but also less expensive. So compared to some other Too Faced concealers, it is a little bit more expensive, it seems. It's not as expensive as some others, but then you get less product. I guess it just depends how often you might use up a concealer, that kind of thing. Okay, so you're supposed to be able to get medium coverage with a natural finish. So it's definitely not full coverage, but I think, you know, I'm fairly happy with how my under eyes are looking, especially for every day. It says it is a buttery serum light buildable concealer, and you saw that I did build it up a little bit, that effortlessly glides on skin to camouflage and cover imperfections up to 24 hours. So, like I said, I will be doing an 8-hour wear test. I'm not going to try to wear this for 24 hours. So if you do have to wear makeup for 24 hours at a time, God bless you, but I'm not in a position to offer any advice on that. All right, so this comes in 18 shades, which is perhaps not as extensive as it could be. I'll put up a picture of the shade range for you to look at. So the good thing about less coverage is that typically shades are a little bit more flexible. But when I could conceivably wear 2 out of the 18 shades, it's maybe a little questionable. All right, so the highlighted ingredients here I think are coconut water, alpine rose, and hyaluronic acid. It's vegan and cruelty-free. It says a waterproof formula that's also sweat and humidity resistant. So I don't really plan on going outside today, but I'll obviously let you know how it holds up. It says non-creasing, and I think most concealers will crease a little bit just due to kind of the anatomy of my under eye. But so far, you know, this one is looking pretty good. So this again is the set side and that is the unset side. And like I showed you, I did put a little bit of shadow right underneath the lower lash line. So that's one of my best tips, I think, for helping to prevent creasing without actually powdering your under eyes if you're worried about it looking dry. And if you don't want to use an actual eyeshadow, you can just go in with any face powder and again, just put it underneath the lower lash line. So it says non-creasing and provides all day moisture. In addition, this formula improves the appearance of dark circles with a blend of plumping and hydrating hyaluronic acid, aloe leaf extract, daikon seed extract, and squalane. I love squalane as an ingredient, and it's an oil that I think it's meant to be kind of balancing. I think it's good for both oily and dry skin, so it's just kind of a great kind of multi-purpose oil in that way. And as far as hyaluronic acid goes, if you're not aware, hyaluronic acid is I guess it's a molecule. It attracts water to it. So if you are in like a very humid environment, it can help kind of capture the moisture in the air and kind of bring it into the skin. If you're in a really dry environment though, it can actually pull moisture out of the skin because there isn't enough kind of ambient moisture for it to latch onto. So hyaluronic acid is in a ton of things these days, but you just want to kind of be aware of that potential property. So I think we already went over the suggested usage. So I'll just quickly kind of go through the differences between this product. So we already talked about the price difference. This, I believe, comes in around 35 shades. There's maybe only 16 on Sephora. That's not uncommon. Sometimes Sephora or Ulta will only carry like a subset of the overall shade range, and then you have to go to the retailer to get certain shades. So that's not unheard of for it to be that way. So this was full coverage, but also with a natural finish. It was also supposed to be hydrating, weightless. They said it was a 4-in-1 formula that could conceal, contour, highlight, and retouch. And yeah, they said a little goes a long way with this long-wearing, buildable, multitasking concealer. It masks imperfections, smooths, and sculpts skin for natural-looking coverage, non-comedogenic, and offers a crease-free, weightless wear that's so naturally flawless they'll think you were born this way. And I think this also had the coconut water, alpine rose, and hyaluronic acid. I think I double checked that because I just wasn't sure if it was like a misstatement or whatever, but it would make sense if they use kind of some similar base ingredients. And yeah, for this one they said to apply a dot under eyes or over hyperpigmentation, and tap with fingers or a sponge until blended to a flawless finish that even hides tattoos. So this new one obviously is not going to give you that level of coverage, but I am pretty impressed so far. I think it just looks really pretty. And like with that NARS foundation, which is like a medium coverage, I think the two really play nicely together. So that is it for now. So far so good. We're coming up on 2 o'clock. So yeah, I'll try to get to an 8-hour wear test. So we're looking at maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock, somewhere in there. But yeah, that is it for now. So I'm going to turn the air conditioning back on and I will talk to you in a few hours. Okay, so I am back. It is just about 11 o'clock. It's about 5 till. So I think that puts us around the 9-hour mark, which I feel is a decent enough wear test, really. I don't know that I would expect anything dramatically different to happen at this point. So as you can tell, I am quite shiny on my forehead and some other parts of my face, like I said I would be. So I just applied more lip oil, and I did powder my forehead once earlier. So those are all the touch-ups I did. I didn't do anything with the under eyes. I tried to leave them alone. So let's zoom in here. My monitor is like this big monitor right underneath the camera, so it's always a bit frightening. So I don't know if you can tell, there's some very light creasing in those lines, but it's the kind of thing where I kind of have to like pull them, you know, to even see it. And that was the set side, by the way. This one, again, I can see some light creasing. It looks like I have maybe a little bit of flaking from my mascara. More so on this side. I think when I did apply it, I kind of got a little bit underneath, but I think there might be a little bit more since then. So yeah, I would say setting this concealer does not, in my opinion, negatively impact the finish of the concealer or anything like that. Let's zoom back out so I'm not quite so big on the camera. And while I'm talking, I will maybe touch up a little bit with my LYS powder again. This isn't the most mattifying powder. During the summer, maybe I need to reach for my Charlotte Tilbury or something that has a little bit more mattifying effect, but I think that's better. Okay, so my thoughts on this concealer. So the shade range is not great. I don't think I mentioned earlier that I do have the 2 lightest shades. So there may or may not be a shade that works for you. Putting aside the number of shades, I think that's just a factor in any type of complexion product. I did do some swatches earlier, so I'll just quickly run through the swatches. So I have Sugar and Milkshake, which are the shades of the new Too Faced Born This Way concealer. And then I also have the JOAH Eye Serum Concealer in the shade, I think this is Fair Cool 10, or Very Fair with Cool Undertones. So I have that. I did a full video on that concealer as well. That one also doesn't have great shades, by the way. And then I did the Kosas Concealer in 0.5N and 1.5C. I like the formula of the Kosas, but I don't think they have a shade that's really great for me. The concealer that I do reach for more often than not is the Wet n Wild Incognito in Fair Beige. So compared to the Too Faced, this Wet n Wild, it's obviously less expensive. It's a drugstore product. The Wet n Wild has more coverage, I think, so that's one thing to take into account. I have the NARS concealer in the Radiant Creamy Concealer in Light 1.25 Affogato and Light 2 Vanilla. And then I have the Sephora Bright Future Gel Serum Concealer in 02 Meringue. And then finally, I swatched the NYX Bear With Me Concealer Serum in Fair, I believe is the shade. So I tried to grab the concealers I thought were kind of similar in terms of texture. I'll go ahead and maybe just do a couple more swatches because I thought of some different ones I could try. I do like trying concealers. I guess that makes sense, someone who has dark circles like I do. So if you have any questions about different formulas or maybe some shade comparisons, just let me know, and if I do have that different product, I will try to throw a swatch up on my Instagram. All right, so I just re-swatched the Born This Way, and you know, I do readjust the white balance and everything and the lighting when I am filming at night from when I'm filming in the day, but just so you know, the lighting is different. So that was the Lancome Teint Idole in, what is it, 90 Ivory. So I've enjoyed this formula in the past, but it is, I think, just a little bit dark. And then I also have two shades of the Dior Forever Skin Correct Concealer. So I have 0N. Try to get this to all fit on one hand, and 1CR. And these also were just never like super great shade matches for me. So I think you can tell, like based on the opacity there and the tones, I don't mind a little bit of a different tone in my concealer, but you can tell that some of these, especially for the under eyes, I use a corrector, but I don't necessarily want my concealer that's kind of on the top to have too much of a kind of orangey pinky shade or a yellow shade. So that's kind of why I really like this kind of more rosy tone. The Milkshake one is a tad bit more yellow. So I think that's gonna do it for my review of this concealer. I think my bottom line is that I really enjoyed this, and I think I will kind of keep it in my little acrylic drawer organizer here to reach for on sort of an everyday basis, because I think the level of coverage makes it really easy to wear with lighter coverage products, which is what I typically go for, especially on an everyday basis. I don't want something that's going to be super heavy and I have to worry about blending and that kind of thing. So yeah, so I really like this. I am looking forward to using this again, which doesn't always happen with products I try out. Sometimes I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's okay, you know. So yeah, so I think I will definitely be reaching for this. So hopefully this review kind of gave you an idea of the pros and cons with this product, but I don't think $26 is a bad price for, I guess I would put this in the high-end category. It's not luxury, but I think I would call Too Faced kind of, you know, high-end. You know, it's a Sephora brand. So I think that's gonna do it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, I hope you guys are all doing well and staying safe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.